Sunak, Starmer, Sunak, Starmer. These are two peas in a pod. Hello all, my name's Matt Johnston. Welcome to The Interesting Times, a show that looks at the political situation in the UK. It was a Labour Party conference last week and gave us a chance to see what a Labour government might look like. First up, the leader, Sir Keir Starmer, who, like Sunak before him, went on to Laura Kuenssberg's Sunday show to be shown a word cloud of what people thought of him. And besides the words himself, and bizarrely himself being fairly prominent in both Starmer and Sunak's word cloud, he did fare better than our current bun of a PM, as the words equality and fairness were fairly prominent, although there was a Conservative with a small e and an even smaller O, N-S-E-R-V-A-T-I-V-E. The one big word, though, was simply nothing. It's not clear what the nothing refers to, but I think I have a pretty good idea. His personality, and I get it, it's bland. It's dull. He has the personality of a wet fish, a dull wet fish that has filled its fishbowl with beige curtains and only the greyest gravel. And I have never been so happy. Boris Johnson was a liar, Liz Truss was incompetent, and they were both more exciting than Keir Starmer. Chaos is a good name for a band or a sequel, but for your government, not so much. And it's good to know that the Tories are on borrowed time. No longer will we have repeating Rishi.
Did you mean it when you said Jeremy Corbyn should be Prime Minister?
Well, look, I think in 2017 and 2019, the Labour Party lost its way. But I'm not going to shy away from the fact that we lost our way. We lost our way.
Do you regret that now?
We lost our way, and that's why I made it my business to change this.
OK. For somebody who's lost their way, he certainly seems to know which direction he's trying to get that conversation going in. All right, well, how about those bastard Tories not being able to answer the simple question, huh?
I think that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself against terrorism.
That's not the question I asked.
It is an answer to the question that you've asked, and I think it's an appropriate one at this time.
Why won't you answer whether you think it's in line with international law or not?
Because I've tried to answer.
OK, that's unfortunate. But what about the Tories sucking up to the Murdochs? All right, well, this is actually Rishi Sunak talking to staff who work at Curry's. Any questions?
Why should we vote Conservative?
Any other questions?
The mess left by your predecessor. Why should we vote for you?
Right, I could spend a lot of my time talking about the past and what happened and, whatever I inherited.
Forget which party was in power for the last 13 going on 14 years, or who's been Prime Minister for the last year, and who was the Chancellor before that. Let's forget the recent past, in other words.
He clarified that didn't mean reversing Brexit.
No case for rejoining the EU, no case for the customs union or the single market. Laws made in this country according to the public interest.
Well, what about those ridiculous hand movements while he spouts off about his 5 pledges?
Here's 5 things a mission-driven Labour government would do.
No, actually, no, that's not pledges, but missions. Totally different. And he's sat there in what I can only assume is a patriotic dentist waiting room. There must be something that distinguishes Labour and the Tories. Come on.
As Chancellor, I will put forward a new charter for budget responsibility.
Of course, the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, who has been endorsed by no less than George Osborne, the ex-Conservative Chancellor of the Exchequer. OK, but also Mark Carney, an ex-Bank of England governor who got the job by being appointed by George Osborne. Anyone else?
That's one of the most impressive speeches I've heard from a conference platform in decades.
Ian, you were a Conservative supporter and have been for decades, up until February.
From the Conservative Party to the Continuity Party. Still, plenty more to keep my channel running. So, what about the COVID inquiry latest? Which is that some text, or at least the text that we've got, show Number 10 staff complaining about Carrie Johnson being the one in charge. And it's come to something that I'm somewhat relieved that for 3 years the country might have been run by someone that understood how a hairbrush works. The COVID inquiry is still hearing testaments from those working at the sharp end of the pandemic. and it's pretty horrendous stuff.
Was from an NHS employee, and it reads as follows. Talking about COVID gives a lot of people flashbacks because people were dying in front of us and our morgue was full. We had no body bags left in the trust in order to cover the number of deaths.
And for Johnson, who, if you remember, partied when people were in lockdown, lied about partying when people were in lockdown, a chance to show just how seriously he took it. When presented with the ongoing evidence about long COVID from scientists, Johnson wrote bollocks, comparing it to Gulf War syndrome, which is a thing, by the way. Johnson has actually caught COVID twice, and as one of the symptoms of long COVID is brain fog, let's be honest, there's no way of knowing if he has it or not. Brain fog is also supposed to affect your memory, which certainly appears to be the case, as both Johnson and Sunak seem to have forgotten to hand the WhatsApps over to the committee. Then there's Peter Bonehead. Yes, I've done the joke before, but it just fits rather well, who has been found guilty of bullying and sexual misconduct. And we'll now see if the 6 weeks suspension recommended by the committee will actually be enforced by the House of Commons. Mr. Bonehead, stop it, okay, has denied these allegations, saying, come on, do I look like the sort of person that would get their penis out and wave it at a staffer, or berate and throw things at them, or make dirty phone calls to them in the middle of the night? Oh, that last one isn't included in the report? Oh, in which case, I definitely do that one either. And then there's Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch, seen here wondering if politics is really right for her, who has embraced the quote, if at first you don't succeed, then this wasn't the Brexit you voted for. Kemi is on another jaunt to get rid of that troublesome EU red tape, believed to be the 23rd such expedition in the last few years, one that has evaded the finest political minds and Jacob Rees-Mogg. Kemi have about a year in which to find some specific EU law which will make the last 7.5 years of hell make sense. And she's going to need something big that will give British businesses a boost over our continental rivals. So, how about getting rid of excise duty on skyhooks, having no paperwork on left-handed screwdrivers, and scrapping VATs on a lawn stand? Thank you. Take care.